The biggest walkout yet by nurses in England. As their strike escalates, healthcare workers say they're left with no choice.
Every single day that I go to work, I worry about patient safety, and I worry that people are not in an environment where we can look after them properly.
Also tonight, clashes erupt in May Day protests in France, with police firing tear gas and water cannon. Closing time for good. It's revealed a dozen pubs and restaurants close every day.
Energy bills have gone up by 5 times what they were a year ago, but we are going to see a significant amount of pubs that will close.
And a landmark day for women's football. A record-breaking 60,000 fans pack out Arsenal's stadium.
This is ITV News with Kylie Pentelow.
Good evening. Nurses in England are taking part in what's being described by their union as their biggest strike yet, as part of their long-running dispute over pay and conditions. For the first time, critical services like A&E and chemotherapy are being disrupted. The Royal College of Nursing has urged the government to get round the table immediately. But the government says the action is premature, as there's a meeting with wider unions tomorrow. Harry Horton reports.
Across England today, nurses have once again walked off the front line and onto the picket line. Some health unions have accepted the government's latest pay offer, but those still striking say poor pay and conditions mean they have to keep up their fight.
They just can't keep going on giving their goodwill anymore because they don't have anything left to give.
Do you think there's enough determination to keep striking until you get this better pay deal?
I think so, yeah. Every single day that I go to work, I worry about patient safety, and I worry that people are not in an environment where we can look after them properly.
Members of the Royal College of Nursing walked out last night and will strike until midnight tonight. Nurses who work in intensive care, A&E and cancer care will be among those striking, but some exemptions are in place for critical care. Unite members at some ambulance services are also striking today and tomorrow. Ministers say today's strikes will be incredibly disruptive and will do little to help the 7 million NHS patients waiting for treatment. Ron Flewitz has a lung condition and has been waiting almost 2 years for a transplant.
Every day I wake up, we think we're going to get the phone call. So today, are we going to get that phone call? I just don't know.
You're in limbo. You don't know what your life holds, and it is in the hands of obviously the donors and the doctors and nurses.
Union leaders say they're prepared to strike until the end of the year.
And that's really unfortunate that we may have to do that and push these people onto picket lines to then. But we can actually draw them to a close very quickly if the Secretary of State and this government does the decent thing for nursing staff and pays them a decent wage.
Tomorrow, unions, employers and the government will discuss the latest pay offer, but some in the NHS say unless the offer improves, disruption will continue.
And Harry's here for more on this. So, Harry, there's a big meeting tomorrow about this pay deal for health workers. What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, we expect the majority of health unions will accept the government's latest pay offer, 5% pay rise, a one-off payment, and the government will then be able to implement this pay offer. Now, that doesn't mean strikes will stop. The RCN and Unite unions have said they will continue striking, hoping to get a better deal. They also say, look, it's not just about pay, it's about conditions as well. But it was noticeable today that those picket lines appeared to be smaller than they were at other strikes earlier in the year. And I think what the government hopes is that if this latest pay offer is implemented, as nurses start to see that extra money in their pay packets, then enthusiasm for future strikes for the rest of the year may begin to wane.
OK, Harry, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Police have recovered a body after searching for a teenager who went missing while playing in a river with friends. A group of 5 teenagers were in the water in the River Thames near Lechlade on Thames in Gloucestershire last night when one failed to resurface. Police were called at around 10 o'clock last night, and the sad discovery was made after extensive searches today. The death is not being treated as suspicious. A man who was stabbed to death during a serious altercation near a nightclub in Cornwall has been named. Michael Allen was killed and 7 other people suffered stab wounds in an attack close to the Eclipse nightclub in Bodmin on Sunday. His family said he was a much-loved son. In France, a police officer has been seriously injured during May Day protests as unions continue to demonstrate against new laws to raise the pension age. French officials say more than 60 people have been arrested in clashes in Paris, Lyon and Nantes. Ian Woods has more.
May Day, May Day. A traditional day to campaign for workers' rights, but that shouldn't involve use of petrol bombs to attack police. A minority of French protesters in recent weeks have been intent on provoking violence, and the police have responded with force. But those who've led the street demonstrations in Paris and elsewhere argue that they do have public support to resist pension reforms. Neither a court ruling approving the measure, public fatigue, nor deploying water cannon have doused anger over the plan to raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. President Emmanuel Macron argues the country can't afford not to, but he pushed the law through without a parliamentary vote, inflaming opposition further. Into this bitter dispute stepped a British teachers' union leader, claiming there was a French lesson for everyone.
The French unions here today, I think they're an inspiration to working people across Europe, that you don't back down, that we have to fight for social change, we have to stop the gradual erosion of the social wage, which is what's going on across Europe.
The retirement age in Britain is already 4 years older than in France and rising, and yet it didn't provoke the depth of anger seen here. The protests have drawn hundreds of thousands of people and have been going on for months. Neither they nor the president seem willing to back down. Ian Woods, ITV News.
The final evacuation flight for British nationals to flee Sudan has left the country. As fighting continues, despite a truce, Britons stuck in the country had been told to travel to Port Sudan by midday local time, being flown on an RAF plane to Cyprus and then onwards to the UK. And First Republic has become the 3rd major American bank to collapse this year. JP Morgan have taken over the bank following a deal brokered by the regulators. Last week, First Republic admitted that customers had withdrawn nearly £80 billion in deposits in March. Now, pubs and restaurants across the country are hoping this month's bank holidays will provide a financial boost after a difficult year with soaring energy costs putting many businesses under pressure. New figures show that 12 hospitality venues have shut each day in Britain over the past year. Layla Hayes reports.
Simon Cleary has been a pub landlord in Essex for 5 years, but he's now pulling his last pint. After losing money during the pandemic, he now says the cost of living crisis has made it impossible to keep going.
In simple terms, our energy bills have gone up by 5 times what they were a year ago. It's wiped out all the potential profit we could make. It's really made the business unviable, but we are going to see a significant amount of pubs that will close over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. And some of them, in fact, many of them, we may never see open again.
More than 4,500 hospitality businesses have closed in the last year, with 12 venues shutting every single day. Restaurants were hit particularly hard, with the numbers shrinking by almost 8% in a year, and the number of high street pubs fell by 2.5%.
And these are businesses that use quite a lot of energy, so we think that this is absolutely connected. 3/4 of those businesses are closing are saying it's due to high energy bills. So as the government's energy bill relief scheme falls away, we're seeing a large group of businesses whose bills are going back to where they were in August. So they're not benefiting from the low energy prices around at the moment, and that's a group that's at real risk now.
The government says it's provided unprecedented support to businesses who will be hoping the May bank holidays provide a much-needed boost. But for Simon and so many other hospitality venues, it's already too late. Layla Hayes, ITV News.
Donald Trump touched down in Scotland this morning, saying it was great to be home. The former president, whose mother is from the Isle of Lewis, is visiting his golf resorts in Scotland and in Ireland. But it comes as Trump faces ongoing court action in the United States, as Peter Smith now reports.
The 45th President of the United States touched down in Scotland this morning with an entourage of family and friends. Greeted by the sound of bagpipes, a welcome change for Donald Trump from the noise of litigation now mounting against him on the other side of the Atlantic. Last month, he pleaded not guilty to 34 felony counts, and this is the first time he has left the US since appearing in court.
President Trump, are you here to escape your troubles at home?
Great to be home, he says here, due to his Scottish mother and owning 2 Scottish golf courses. But as the red carpet was rolled up and his motorcade rolled out, it is no secret this is a man who craves the power of the presidency and badly wants to call the White House home once again, if he is allowed to run.
The last time Donald Trump was in the UK in 2019, he was still US president. He now lands here in the northeast of Scotland as the only US president in history to be facing criminal charges.
Today his lawyers filed for a mistrial in one of his pending court cases. In a civil action in which he is accused of rape and defamation, an 18-page letter has accused the judge of being biased against Donald Trump. That request for a mistrial was swiftly denied. President Trump has now arrived at his many estate golf links. His Scottish courses lost almost £4.5 million in year 2021. But today, in footage from his own media team, he announced work will begin on a new course here, named after his mother.
She loved Scotland, was a great admirer of the Queen, and I got to know the Queen so well.
But President Trump will not be staying for the King's coronation. He hasn't been invited. Instead, he's leaving for Ireland, where he also owns a golf course. Peter Smith, ITV News, Aberdeenshire.
Now, it's a landmark day for women's football. 60,000 fans are making their voices and feelings heard by packing out Arsenal's Emirates Stadium in London. The team are playing German side Wolfsburg right now, and Chris Scudder is there for us. Chris, never before have so many people turned out for a women's club match.
Yeah, in this country, 60-odd thousand in the game. It's in the first half behind me right now. Only one ever club game, more fans than this. That was in Spain last year when Barcelona played Real Madrid, also in the Champions League. I think the impact of the Lionesses' success for England last summer has had a huge impact. You can see from the fans who are here today, a lot of families, a lot of first-timers to football. In fact, if you go back to the last time, only time Arsenal won the Champions League, the home leg crowd was 3,000, now 60. Here's what some of the fans have made of being here today.
On the back of the Euros, the back of the women's team doing so well, and of course the men are on the up as well. So I think there's a real feel-good factor around the club, and I think that's really helped.
To have an 8-year-old who's into football, has been following a bit of the men's game, to see the women doing so well, we're just bursting with excitement to come and see them play.
Yeah, what do you think? Who's going to win today, Arsenal or Germans?
Since we've arrived in January, it feels like there's a buzz, there's an energy around women's football, so we have picked up on that.
Well, they're just doing so well, aren't they? And they're in the Champions League semi-final, which Arsenal haven't been, the men's team haven't been for a while.
Yeah, lovely atmosphere. About 5 minutes to half-time. You heard the fans saying who's going to win. Arsenal, well, they are leading 1-0. Here's the goal that happened in 11 minutes of the game. A long ball forward. It was a bit hopeful, really, but the Swedish striker, Stina Blackstenius, with a great finish, taking advantage of some confusion in the German defence. So Arsenal leading 1-0 on the day, 3-2 on aggregate. If they can now hang on to that, there is a whole second half to come, then they will be through to the final of the Champions League, where Barcelona will be waiting. Good news so far, Arsenal leading in this semi-final second leg.
OK, Chris, thank you very much. We will, of course, let you know how they do. And finally for this evening, Mark Selby is taking on Luca Brecel in the final day of the World Snooker Championship after making history last night. This was the moment Leicester-born Selby became the first ever player to make a 147 maximum break in a final at the Crucible. Well, despite that, Brecel has extended his lead to 15-10 today, meaning he's just 3 frames away from victory. That's it for now. I'm back just after 10. I hope you can join me then. But from all of us here, whatever you're doing, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.